All right, everybody, welcome to the Season 3 All-Star Game. I've got Jiggly in the booth with me today.
Hi, I have professional experience.
So, Jiggly, lineups, what do we think?
So, uh, I feel like this is going to be a battle of the stupid metagame versus somebody actually trying to play the game. On the right, we have I don't know which team is which. It's just Casper versus Mexico City is what I'm seeing, but I know that it picked by team captains, whatever. So on the right is the standard, 4-4-2 empty bucket. Usually you'd have it just be normal side, normal wide midfielders and holding midfielders. But actually, in what we received before the game, those aren't holding midfielders. Those are just normal central midfielders, and they've actually moved up Shoko and White as wingers, which is a much more comfortable position for both of them. So I know that Shoko has some good crossing ability, and obviously they're going to be having some really good strike play coming in from the wings. And on defense, I'm a bit confused with Sophia Delacour being moved to fullback, but you have to use what you have, and I think that's probably the best decision. If you want to have her on the pitch and you want to have the best players on the pitch, you're going to have to shift some people around. So let's look at the left side. I felt physically angry looking at this lineup. Uh, it's a 4-1-0-5. I think that's the right way to call it, the right thing to call it, a 4-1-0-5. There is nobody in the center of the pitch. I don't understand. It's dumb. They're gonna have a lot of problems, but at the same time, I mean, they do have like the sort of strikers that would be able to continue that pressure, and that's probably going to be the whole point of this lineup. I didn't see I don't know what the actual tactics are. I'm gonna check right now. Their actual did you see their actual tactic that they're going to be using?
It is a vertical tiki-taka.
Yeah, I hate it. I have a personal disdain for tiki taka in general, but yeah, it's just what's going to happen, and I feel like the biggest problem outside of everything, the biggest problem about using a tiki taka with this formation is that they don't have that 10. They don't have that creative player right there. I mean, obviously, Lingam is the sort of player who can be that, but he's not in that position, and I don't think that he's playing in a role for that. He's playing as a false nine, which, I mean, kind of works a bit like that position, but, I mean, why don't you just put him as a 10? Whatever. We're going now, and I guess that's what's going to happen. Kohler and Dragunov are going to play one last game together before Dragunov goes to Casper as Kohler stays. But yeah, whatever. Let's just see what that team does. It's stupid versus normal, stupid versus basic, essentially.
All right, well, thank you for sugarcoating it. Let's see how we do here. Let's get this game started. All right, so we're off.
When I was looking at the original way that they're going to be, the team playing as Mexico City was going to be playing, they're going to be playing more of a counterattack. And I mean, obviously, I only really know my own team, but I know that my own team is very used to. Oh, we got a foul over there on the right flank. Adrian White, who probably is not used to any sort of defensive play, and gets a talking to. He does not get a yellow card, which, I mean, he upends the guy, and it's kind of hard to tell in the simulation. Here's Libertine with and he misses. So what I think that Mexico City is going to be trying to do is they're going to try to sit back a lot more than normal. And obviously, the thing that I don't understand is that I'm going to keep talking about that lineup because I think even if you use that sort of dumb formation, I don't think a vertical tiki-taka is going to be what you really want with that. I think that if you're going to have that many players up front, you just got to gegenpress. You got to continue to counterpress. But they are, and here's the first attack for Mexico City moving forward and gets taken down. So yeah, I don't think that's what you want out of that formation. I think you'd rather have a gegenpress than a slow moving play. You don't really have the numbers in the midfield to really develop play the way that you would want.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see though once they do get the ball up the field if the counter attack can handle the amount of forward pressure from the I guess it would be team goalie playing as Casper.
Well, I mean, Mexico City has the structure of their defense. They have a very structured formation, and Casper is simply, let's just try to have fun, I guess. Which, I mean, I guess it's the point of an all-star game. And you see they're spreading the ball out wide, and nobody's really there. I feel like what it seems like is that when they're attacking, they're moving much closer together. They're cutting down their width when attacking, which is the wrong thing to do when you have that many people up forward. They're being much more compact when going forward and wide when defending, which is kind of the opposite of what you want to do. And Delacour, once again, not exactly a natural fullback, as we saw in the NWSL Challenge Cup. Midge Purse consistently played at right back when she's a forward. Sophia Delacour, a forward, consistently now being played at right back here. Ross Oliver, soon to be converted into a forward from a defender, so that's interesting. That's a fun fact for you guys. Nothing really happening here in the early stages of the game. It's still in the 7th minute, but it's moving around, and I think that a lot of this game is going to be about, I don't know. I lost my train of thought when I looked at chat. And Shoko, one of the best free kick takers in the league over the ball right now. One of the best, not the best, of course. And she just sort of plonks it out of bounds. It happens. I don't really know quite what she was trying to do there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of back and forth. Looks like a lot of guys trying to get their bearings with new teammates to play with here.
Most of the pressure is going against the Mexico City defense, but I think that that's mostly due to the sheer numbers forward that Casper has.
It doesn't seem like too many chances are being generated from it either.
It seems like a lot of just like putting it out wide and then getting fouled.
Some fanboys in the All-Star chat here.
Now, something interesting that I'd like to talk about when it comes to the way that the game is played is I just call it the fear index. It's a very intangible thing to talk about, but I feel like this is a good time to really talk about it with the way that Casper is playing, as you see right here. Royce gets free, Pukaneter plays it in for Royce, and that's what I was about to mention, which is just the sheer just continuing pressure on the defense, even if you don't have the possession, even if you aren't really even shooting that much, just the sheer amount of pressure that you can put on a defense that helps break it down, and that's what we just saw right there.
Yeah, that was a little uncharacteristic of the counterattack to be caught up onto a odd man rush there.
Which is obviously going to be an odd man rush every single time with the weird formation that Casper has. And as I said before, it's kind of awkward to really play Tiki Taka when you don't have anybody in the midfield. It's something that I like talking about when first explaining why I use numbers when describing certain players. And if you've ever read the one of the first articles ever written in league history, and it looks like Shoko's having a talking to from the ref, and she gets a yellow for her foul. That's fun. She has very low sportsmanship. But what I like talking about when it comes to teaching soccer to some people is the concept of the 6, the 8, and the 10, which I think I mentioned before. The 10, which is the attacking midfielder. If you play FIFA, it's the CAM. It's just the creative midfielder that plays much more forward. I know that there's going to be some people who know more theory than me and are going to get angry at me with the way that I describe it, but it's the easiest, simplest way to describe it to people that don't know. But yeah, the 10 is just the creative midfielder that sort of builds up they run point guard essentially. They're in charge of the way that attack presents itself. And then you got the 6, which is the anchor, which is the holding midfielder is the correct term for it. The most people use defensive midfielder in FIFA. It's CDM, and they're basically there as a sort of middle line. They're a linebacker essentially. They're right in front of the defense to be sort of a windshield wiper, and they can be played, as a deep line playmaker. But really, a lot of it's going to be about making sure that defense is protected. They're not the last line of defense. They're the second line of defense, and that's still just as important. And then you have the 8, which is what I think that Casper is very much lacking with this formation, which is somebody who connects the defense to the attack. They're the person in the middle. I don't really know of any proper word for it. I know that in Football Manager it's the Carriello. I think that that's a word that sounds like it works, but really the 8 is there to connect things. And you can have a wonderful team, but if you do not have somebody at that 8 spot, it's not going to be as effective. You're not going to be able to get the ball from the defense to the attack. And so we're seeing a lot with this Casper team, with the way that they're moving. They're going out wide because the game cannot recognize how to properly do this in a way that makes sure that all 5 of those attackers stay up front. So the wingers are moving back and the fullbacks are moving up, as that's the only way that they can move forward. They can only really truly move forward through the wings.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Not a lot of balls will be coming through the middle with this kind of formation.
And I think that where we really suffer, where Mexico City is going to really suffer, is that there's really no mid-game changes that they can make to really exploit the fact that middle is wide open. And I think that the way that they're tactically set up before the game, before they apparently, I hope that the only reason why is because they didn't know what Casper was doing. But if they had the opportunity to change what's going on, they need to overload that central midfield and just exploit the hell out of it.
Yeah, just from some inside information from the captains here, there's some pretty significant changes at halftime. So it'll be exciting to see some of these new players coming onto the field.
I want to see Casper go into like a 5-0-2 or some like weird like extreme defensive 7, like a 7-0-3.
After the draft, I'll have to say that anything can happen.
The fact that Wiesner is here.
Exactly.
And I think that another thing with like the way that the teams are lined up, I think that obviously, as I said before, you're going to be if you want to put all of your best players on the pitch at the same time, you're going to have to put Sofia Delacour at fullback. But what would be really interesting is if they move her up as more of a wingback, put in a third central defender and push out everyone, so that those two fullbacks, which are they're designed to be attackers. So let them attack and give them the freedom to attack by adding that third defender to give them that freedom. And it looks like, as I said before, it's very hard to move the ball out of the back from this formation. But somehow they do it. And it looks like O'Sullivan is going to be getting a yellow. Yep, Julian O'Sullivan gets a yellow for a foul in a fairly dangerous position right there. I think that Libertine has a shot on goal.
And it is just the second shot on target for the game here. First one went in, so first save of the game.
And back to that fear thing, as you can see, a lot of what I say with like that sort of which team is more scared at the moment, it's always going to be the team that has given up the most shots and the most shots on target and that sort of thing. And you can see that right there. The sheer amount of passes that have been completed for Casper, the sheer amount of shots that they've taken over the Mexico City shots. It's a tough life out there. And as the game is reminding us, Sofia Delacour would benefit from playing in a more comfortable position.
Shoko bullied there a little bit, so we'll have a free kick.
She's a fairly short player.
Game's getting a little rough for a all-star game, but we like to see a little effort out there.
I'm trying to see the way that this game is going to be. Yeah, they've got get stuck in under their the way that they're playing. So yeah, that's kind of how you want to stop that sort of brute force attack. I think it's certainly a strategy. I feel like they do better with more defenders against that much.
Yeah, I really expected a lot more shots out of Casper with the lineup they have, but I guess it's just that struggle to get the ball up the field.
Yeah, you can see. Well, I mean, it's also down to the tactics that they have. If it was a gegenpress, they'd be taking a whole lot more shots. But it's this tiki-taka play that they're trying to pass that ball around, and it's just not really anything that they can. A lot of the ball is being shoved out wide into like the center of the pitch, out wide. And as I said before, I think that's really what Mexico City needs to do is get that center of the park really just built.
Well, here's Shoko with a chance. Oh. And we'll have a corner kick. Very strange seeing Madonka in a Mexico uniform. Usually one of the captains at the All-Star game.
Yeah, you look at the possession and the passes completed stats right there. With Casper, 88% of their passes completed, and that's 130 passes. And a lot of that is in the back. And I don't know, I'm just not a fan of unnecessary passes. I feel like it sounds like I hate a team, but I do. I've you know what? If I was on a team that was lined up this way, I wouldn't be cheering for them either. And we're seeing, they're trying to move through that center of the pitch, but the way that this tactic is, that Mexico's tactics are set up, it's much more played out to the wide areas because that's where some of their strongest players are. So it's there. Okay, I'm talking about how they don't have anybody in the center of the park, and then what just happened there with that play? Because for some reason, Bellingham was the only person anywhere in that center area. Like even Mexico didn't have any players there. How is somebody so open while not supposed to be there? He's somehow playing out of position and open.
Oh,
I hate it.
Here's an opportunity.
And here's a quick breakaway here from Madonka. Is he going to take it? Del Sarte with the follow-up, and no. Oh, who's in goal for Casper? Let me just check here.
Eric Anua, I believe.
I have no clue who that is.
That's the Casper keeper.
Yeah.
That's the Casper keeper.
Well, I mean, yeah, you get one of the best keepers in the game. That's how that happens.
Yeah, the 2-0 probably could have put it off once the keeper committed.
So here's the thing about having a two forwards against one goalkeeper is that in real life and in this game probably as well, you don't instantly think, oh, I want to be the person who passes. You think you're a striker. You want to score. You're going to score. And especially if you're the sort of goal scorer like Mendonca, you're going to have an expectation of yourself to score off of that play. So I don't blame him too much for not passing that ball off. I'd be angry, obviously, but it's just something that you don't do. It's a FIFA play, It's something that, like, if you're in charge of the entire team, you want them to pass the ball off. But if you consider each player as an individual, they're not going to pass that ball if they have a chance.
I'd have to agree with you, but I don't think Del Sarte would.
Great recovery tackle right there. I don't know who that was. I think that was Ross Oliver who made a wonderful recovery tackle on Pukinator. That you're going to see here.
Oh, yeah. Dangerous, but amazing.
He is there just in time. That's a great play. That's a fun-looking play. And, of course, goalkeeper distribution is concerning on every level of the game. And you got Shoko in a dangerous position to cross it in here. Back to Delcourt, even more dangerous dangerous if somebody can get onside, and nobody was able to really get onside in time, and balls bounced around towards the midfield.
Dragunov was a late addition to the game. Not a bad little defensive effort there. And Mexico is actually showing some life here. They really turned it around in the last 5-6 minutes.
Well, we're obviously watching sixth graders if you consider the fact that every single player says, "I want to be the striker." So, yeah. I see Yamagata holds up some play.
Oh.
Sends Del Sarte forward, but there's not really much. Oh, he gets through.
That was a nice opportunity there. Uncharacteristic of Madonka to not put one of those home. Looks like Del Sarte regretting his Madonka pick, feeling as if he is the better striker of the duo.
I feel like if you wanted to build a team around yourself, you need to build a team around yourself. Yes, we're normally these games are played, with highlights instead of just a full match, and we're watching the full match now, and dear God, this is horrifying.
Yeah, there's still a long way to go till the players hit their
hit the point where we don't all look stupid, and I feel like that's it's going to be, if I ever get around to finally continuing to the second, I think, no, this would be my third. It would be a part of the third book of the third volume of my whole series, which I will kind of be talking about regression and, the fact that this is what our games are going to look like with a lot of really dumb, just a lot of dumb. And it would be nice to have a longer period of time where players have a peak and are able to play better for a longer period of time.
And I think that is what we'll see. I think regression will start around 8 seasons, and we'll probably pretty much have it in a situation where a player can almost flatten out the curve for a couple of years.
Ooh, almost getting up there. But I think that more what I think is about it is that, like, we don't really have very many new creates that stick around for a long time. So we're going to be seeing issues with that, especially if we go into regression. Suddenly the entire league gets worse, and that's a bit of a problem there. And I feel like it should be a longer time until regression.
Yeah, and I think the league will keep an eye on it and not get us into a situation like that. I think we're trying to aim for 10 to 12 seasons of a player still being a top player. So maybe by season 12 it'll be hard to keep up with the regression, but a player would still be a marquee player for 3 or 4 seasons.
And yeah, we're seeing a lot more fight from Mexico recently, as they're starting to push ahead a whole lot more. Obviously, they're getting a whole lot more tackles in. 7 tackles already, and a whole lot of fouls. And what neither of these teams have is a 10 that is going to be, distributing the ball throughout that attack. And I think that that's one of the biggest issues that we're seeing there for Mexico City, which is they don't really have a good even distribution of the attack. It's going out to the wings, and then nothing much happens there.
So, what would you like to see from these teams at halftime?
Obviously, I'd like Casper to leave. I don't know what I can say about Casper. They're just doing their own thing, and they're just going to do their own thing. I don't think I have any suggestions for Mexico City to try to counter this. I feel like they need to either look towards putting in an extra central defender to allow those fullbacks to become wingbacks, and so they can push forward more, or they're going to want to move like either Shoko or White, put them at the 10 spot. Both of them can play at that spot, and put in a different winger. Just move somebody in so that they can really take control of the center of the park.
Another talking to for Mexico. That's your 11th foul of the game.
And as we consistently have been seeing, a lot of passing play, and then eventually it just gets to Libertines and nobody closes in on him, and he just boots it out up forward wide. And that's mostly been the movement. I know you won't pull it up, but I'd really like to just see like the passing charts, and like I want to click into them and then move through them and look at what's going on there, because I think a lot of these attacks are starting not from actual play itself, but just simply from Libertines or a defender just booting it forward to a winger. And I think we see a similar pattern from Mexico City as well, with the way that they're playing, which is booting it out to a winger. I'd like to see better passing, I guess. Yes, Casper has 202 passes, 87% completion, but a lot of those passes are just in the back, just sort of kicking it around until somebody gets open, and that's halftime.
All right, so I'm going to do the lineup changes here. I don't know if you want to take a little break or you want to get into something else while I do this. Should need about 5 minutes here.
I will take questions from the chat. I will take questions from the chat. We need a playground slide so that players can celebrate on it. Guys, I'm an actual paid sports writer and part owner of an actual soccer team. Somebody has to have questions. I feel like so many people have gotten used to just watching these with it muted.
Yeah. All right, I am handing you over the lineup card for Casper for halftime here.
So the difference maker in the second half, I mean, obviously I'm going to have to see the lineup card, but I hope that it's going to be some sort of attacking midfielder. And yeah, I think that looking at this new lineup, okay, my opinion on Casper has changed completely with their new lineup because I love it. It's not a meme lineup either, but it looks like Libertine is going to be moving up as an enganche at that 10 spot, and I think that that's going to be a really important thing for them to start, actually seeing some real movement there. I still think that Bietlingam, that's a bit of an issue because he's not. I don't think he's a forward at all. But when you're moving all of these players around, you're not going to really have very much of an ability to do that. But the new lineup is going to be 3-5-2. The game calls it a different thing, but it's a 3-5-2. It's going to be with the wingers are not going to be up on top, as the wingers are going to be pushed further back, because obviously that's what you do to make sure that you got those wide sides covered. I really like the 3-5-2. I remember when I always refer to this, but it's really like that was the first time I realized, 3-5-2s are actually pretty fun. I did an interview with MLS Cup winning head coach Peter Novak. It was like a 5-hour interview. It was fun. It went on to 11 at night. And when we finally realized, oh yeah, we should probably finish this soon because we have to go to sleep, don't we? But he was talking about the way that he lines up his players and the way the positions are, and he says that when you have a 3-5-2, most teams they're going to have two strikers and they're going to keep those two strikers up on the defense. You only need 3 players to cover those 2 strikers. If you have 4, you're wasting players. So you have 3 players back there to cover that, and that means that you can add an extra player up top and in the attack. So yeah, that's a fun thing. So we're going to be seeing a nice 3-5-2 coming out of Casper, and with the other lineup, they're also going to be moving somebody to the 10 spot. Shoka's going to be moving to the 10 spot for Mexico City. We're going to see Crovo and Eve on those wings. Del Sarte is going to take the sole striker up top. Madonka is out. Weezus, once again, no reason for him to really be here, but he's going to be there, and he's going to be doing his thing. We're going to have wingbacks who are not wingbacks. They're not fullbacks, and I don't even know if they're wingers, but they're going to be wingbacks. And we're going to be seeing, well, obviously this is going to be, oh yeah, this does say it. It's a 5-man back line, essentially. It's not a 3-man back line. It's a 5-man back line. It's a very interesting thing to talk about, the very delicate difference between a 3-man back line and a 5-man back line, where you can have 3 in the back while still also having 5 in the back. That's just how it works. That's just how those wingers work. They move up and down. I don't know what style of play these guys are going to be doing, because Flip did not send me that, and I don't know if he's ever going to send me that. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. And yeah, I like these. I like the new formations because they're much more fun and much more interesting. It's not basic versus dumb. It's 2 fairly interesting lineups, and I'm excited to see what happens. I would be worried if I was Mexico City, not just because you're down a goal, and also not just because you've got two wingbacks who are not really used to being wingbacks, but I am worried about Shoko with the 1 yellow card. Yeah, they're going to be playing on the wings, which, I mean, I guess that's what they can do. I think that personally, the way that they have this lineup here, I would prefer something other than wing play. Maybe playing with a Catenaccio, playing more defensive since you've got that 5-man backline, and especially since, obviously you wouldn't know what the other team is doing, so you wouldn't know that Casper's decided to not be dumb anymore. I think that's, you might want to play more, looking more defensively. And that Casper lineup, it's a much better looking lineup. I like it so much more. And I think that's, control possession. Yeah, I think that's something that's going to work for the second half, especially since they're up a goal.
All right, well, let's get the second half started. Whoops.
Go to pitch. I think that what we're going to be seeing a lot more with this half is there's going to be a whole lot more chances created with these attacking midfielders in play, and especially with the 3-man back lines. I'm also expecting Shoko to get sent off.
Oh no.
That's just a thing that's going to happen. We'll see what happens with that, but she does have all 20 points needed for being a natural at center at that 10 spot, and I gave her a lot of great abilities to be a good number 10. We're going to see how she's finally able to play in that spot with a good team. And wheezes, I guess. And we're seeing it definitely is quite a bit more lively than the first half.
Some nice build up from Casper here.
Well, Casper is, they're just trying to control the game here. I'm kind of impressed with the fact that Casper was able to figure out that, if we just go all out with the stupid in the first half, we can have this control in the second half.
Keeper not too happy about that pass.
And another fun thing that I learned from that interview that I always like parroting is the idea of the fact that when you're a coach on the sideline during a game, you should be sitting down, and it's not like anything like, you shouldn't show passion. It's a very specific thing of a coach who needs to coach their game during a game did not do their job on the training pitch. And so that's why, you only really, it's sort of like using your horn on a car, where you should only ever have to use it if you're trying to warn somebody about something. You don't just honk your horn because you're angry. It's to warn somebody of danger. And so that's the same sort of concept of being a coach, which is they should know everything from the sideline, from the training pitch. And so if your players see you get up from the sideline and go over to talk, that means that there's some problems happening. And as we see there, Royce gets his first goal of the game. As we see some nice passing around, bouncing around the box. Oda's shot probably didn't really mean anything, but Royce is right there to pick it up. That's one of those things, when you have when it comes to the way that an attack ends, or the way that a defense crumbles, sometimes it's just what happens. There's not really much you can do about that goal. All of those defenders are right there. I think that's, the animations aren't going to show them pushing around, but I think that's, if you think about that in real life, they would be moving, and they might have made it difficult, but there's just nothing you can really do about that sort of shot. And so that's 2 goals for Rolls-Royce in this game.
Looked like a little push off in the box there, went unnoticed.
Yeah, and if you're looking at the stats, the amount of shots has just really gone up for Casper, and I think that's Mexico City's kind of done with this one. There's not really that much of a way to get back in this game. Obviously, they can if if they had a coach that said, "Come on, guys, let's go," but we're not allowed to press those buttons. As I said, if you see your coach standing up, that means you've done something wrong, and I think that this is the sort of point where Mexico City's coach needs to stand up and say, "Hey, this is not what we're supposed to be doing." And you see almost every single pass goes back to Libertines in that attack. That's what a 10 does.
Yeah, it's something that I've trying to build them a little bit more for recently. That and free kicks. Unfortunately, I've been having to spend a lot of my TP on free kicks in order to get them. There's so many elements to them to make them good, but I think this season the focus will go back on making that nice, midfielder can create good distribution and set up those nice cutting runs as our strikers get a little bit better.
I mean, I originally, I think I've mentioned about my original plan with Shoko was to, build her like the player that her render is, Yuki Nagasato, who is very much the sort of player who can kind of play anywhere in that attack. She mostly plays on the wings, but she's able to play in the 10 spot. She's recently during the NWSL Challenge Cup, she played in that 9 position for some weird reason until she hurt her knee. But having also defensive capabilities. But then when I decided, I want to play a 3-5-2 with my with the original iteration of East Tokyo United, I realized, I can just I'm going to need a very high TP player for that 10 spot to make sure that it's going to be somebody with very, very high quality. So, I started building her towards, kind of being, I guess, Maradona, to be that sort of perfect 10. And eventually I've moved on, and now I've got a team that isn't really built towards being a slow build or like high press team, and it's much more built on just kick and run. And so I started building towards that now. So she's got a lot of different influences in her right now, and it's kind of weird how I started out trying to build her as Yuki Nagasato, but she's ended up being built as Sam Kerr. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a different situation being in a GM/player role where you have to think about what your team needs, but also try to build the player that you're envisioning.
As we see, I think one of the big reasons why Casper is doing so well in the second half is because of that holding midfielder for Mexico City. Weezus, and as the quality of the stream goes down, and I can barely see anything happening, I can tell that there's an attack, and now there's not an attack. Maybe nope, there might. It's real confusing. The stream quality is drastically gone down on my end, and I cannot tell what's going on.
Should come back in a second here. My computer seems to be struggling.
But Weezus as that sort of hinge, as that 6 or 8 or whatever that spot's supposed to be, is not doing that well because he's not a good player. And it's once again showing off how weird the fact that he was picked. I do not get it at all.
Oh, that was a good opportunity for Shoko there.
Well, would have been nice to watch. I'm going to try to just see if something will work on my end. Nope. That will not help it on my end. Oh, hey, everything came back. I still couldn't see the shot, but whatever. Yeah, Shoko's really good on corner kicks, and shows off with the fact that that got to a player, I guess. And at the 62nd minute, I don't really see too much extra coming on with Mexico City right now. And I think that their best chance is going to be through a counterattack. And that beautiful back pass out for a corner kick. I remember when I was a kid and I played. I was goalkeeper for a season, and I don't think I ever played goalkeeper again after this. Where I was playing in goal, there was a back pass, and I went down to pick up the ball, and it just went between my legs and in for an own goal, and I was instantly taken out of the game and never played goalkeeper again for my dad's team.
Oh, for your dad's team too. Ouch. So Mexico seems to be starting to get it together a little bit more here.
Yeah, I think that with Mexico, what they're doing is they're kind of playing this in waves. They're getting some good quality chances for like a few minutes at a time, but not really able to string something together for long enough to really, accomplish anything, convert on it. If you're looking at just looking away from the action to that left side of the screen, you see that's 3 defenders covering 2 attackers.
Yeah, a lot of players down the field now for Mexico, I guess, as they try to fix this 2-goal deficit they have here.
And Eve overruns the the corner kick that was basically right to an open spot just for her that was opening up in the box, and she just overruns it.
Yeah, Weezus a little bit of a black hole here. Seems to be breaking up a lot of the opportunities against his own team.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about. I don't think that you want to have the hinge of your team be a 700 TP player.
A lot of nice passing through the middle here. Some nice build up.
We don't really have much opposition there. I mean, the two players playing in the center of the park right here for Mexico City is, as I said, a 700 TP central midfielder and a attacking focused 10. I don't think that there's really much opposition to get the ball away from them.
Oh, Sid.
And a nice set piece there that's going to put this game away. It's 3-0 in the 70th minute. There's not very many teams that are in the world that can play like this for 70 minutes and then come back.
Oh. Shoko, as usual, dangerous from the corner.
And what we're seeing is pretty much what we'd expect from this game. I think that it's going to be a very difficult thing to watch just in general because it's just going to be Casper squeezing this out.
Yeah, not a lot of standouts in terms of game ratings from Mexico here.
Well, I mean, that's the big thing with if you can't connect the defense to the attack, which is on Mexico City now. That's the problem with Weezus not really being the sort of player who can do that. If you can't connect the defense to the attack, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah, I think as much as Del Sarte wouldn't want to admit it, I think Mendonca was probably a stronger option to leave on the field. And there was probably a few midfielders that would have been better served than Weezus. I think those are probably the two spots. I would have
Mistakes were made. A lot of mistakes were made, mostly by Mexico, but a lot of mistakes were made.
I am enjoying this combination of libertine and Vietlingam in the middle, as I completely butcher the name.
Well, kind of, you're more used to a GN AM than an NG AM.
My mouth just doesn't move that way. Well, here's an opportunity for, oh, no, offside.
Offside. I feel like playing a full match was a mistake.
Yeah, it's funny. Football Manager, you basically have a 20-minute option and then a full match option. And I feel like for the All-Star game, to get 8 or 9 minutes of your player in the first half and then get subbed out isn't quite enough, but I feel like this is a little too much.
It's too much because just the simple way that this game is being played, it's not even an exciting game. There is no enjoyment out of this. And this is the reason why many people hate playing negative soccer. Because it's just you defend and you just sit there. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, I would have thought that with the new formations we would have seen a lot more action, but it seems like
it's more the team with the most quality is also the team that is playing with a much more defensive lineup. And I remember we started the second half with 8 viewers, and now we're down to 3, and I'm one of them. So we can see what just happened here. We can track the difficulties of this game.
just 12 more minutes here. Thinking about maybe popping up the aggressiveness right up to full offense for both teams here.
I mean, it won't really do much for Casper because of the specific tactic that they're playing.
Yeah, agreed. It's structurally sound, but not overly exciting.
Which is something that's effective. And, I mean, I'd get angry at other coaches if they do it, but, I mean, if I have to do it to make sure that my team wins, I'd do it. It's not a fun thing to have in an all-star game, let's be honest here. It's sort of a middle finger to the audience to play negative soccer during an all-star game, to play with the least exciting tactic possible during an all-star game is basically writing your own death warrant from the masses that will attack you and tar and feather you and throw cheese at you.
I kind of like cheese, to be honest.
It's not. You won't be able to eat it. You'll be already tied up.
Well, we've got 9 minutes to go here. It'll be interesting to see if Mexico can break through once.
It's going to be interesting to see how much extra time they're going to add on.
Haven't seen much to warrant much.
Yeah, stupid things happen. It's my motto in sports writing. Something stupid always happens. I even memorized what it is in Latin. It's stultus fit aliquid semper.
There we go. A little bit of language lesson for everybody.
Yeah, and that's the way that that Mexico is really set up to be trying to play. I mean, if you look at how narrow the amount of the players are in that exact spot, I hate that so much. It's something that I always talk about that I don't really ever actually talk about in like my writings about the women's game, because I want to make sure that it's like, oh, I'm not going to say anything disparaging about it. But I always mention this whenever I'm actively watching it, that dear God, when I hate the width of the women's game, because it's all in like a single quadrant of the pitch a lot of the time, and you can actually see that happen. And I hate it when that happens because it's not spread out. It just feels too contained. It's just a bunch of bodies together, and it doesn't feel like soccer. It feels like rugby. And I much prefer watching a game that is much more spread out.
So is that just a talent level thing, or what do you think
It's
causes that?
I think it's a tactical choice. And it's not just in the women's game, but it's just that it's something that I constantly notice in the women's game, where you see that all of the players are on a single side of the pitch, essentially. And that's just like, it annoys me so much when I see that happen. And I point it out whenever I see it in the men's game too, because it does happen a lot there too. It's just something that like I noticed one day when watching the Red Stars from one of the goal ends, just how narrow they play the game sometimes, and you can see that anywhere else.
Yeah, so that was actually a feature of the tactic that Casper put together here. Was they requested a narrow type attacking formation.
Casper, I once again hate you, and I just hate everything about this, really. We got 4 minutes left.
Looks like it. We should get the fourth official with the board out soon. And we have a free kick.
You make soccer sad. Like, this is the sort of play that you'd expect from a team that is very clearly not as good as the other team, and they're just trying to cover their bases and make sure that they don't give anything up. This is an all-star game where it's the best players in the league, or at least supposed to be the best players in the league, and Weezus. It's supposed to be the best players in the league, and you're playing negative soccer, which is just an annoying thing to watch. And the only good reason that you should have to be playing negative soccer is that you have a worse team than the opposing team. So it's just it's a surrender flag. I mean, the team that I think of the most about using this sort of horrible, cowardly play is the French. The only thing I can think of is the French. From the last Euros, when that's how they won it, or at least that's how they continually won, which was they just sat back and played negative soccer, and I hated it. And I think everyone hates it.
Yeah,
you should feel ashamed of yourself.
You saw that a few times now. The Italians, tons of talent, love to sit back and play kind of that negative soccer.
That's a different thing. I'm talking about sitting back and just sitting on the ball. The Catenaccio style is more about holding back, letting the attack come to you and then quick counterattack and then you sit back again. With the sort of negative soccer to play, there's no real movement. You just pass the ball around.
Yeah, that and the other one I had a hard time watching was that year the Greeks won the Euro.
Yep, that's how they won.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's sort of a team like that using it, I'm completely okay, because the Greeks in that year were not anywhere close to the level of any other team in that tournament. But they were able to win because of that tactic. And I'm okay with a team like that using that sort of tactic against better teams. But using it in an all-star game where you do have much better talent than the opposing team, that's just a middle finger to anyone watching the game.
So that's the end of the game. We got a 3-0 final. I didn't catch it, but I assume goals was the man of the match. Yep.
Well, you score 3, you're going to be that.
Yeah, so 61% possession. Not overly surprising with the tactics they played. 7.2 over average rating over a 6.6 rating. Yeah, not a lot of surprises here. 65 passes completed for Libertine. That's not too shabby. But that brings an end to our game, and I appreciate those who stuck around. It was a long one, and we will be having some exhibition games next week. We have a team relocating, which will be announced next week with their new kits and everything. And I'm not talking
You already
about.
know it was me.
No, another one. It's been confidential up to this point. So Warsaw will also be relocating, and the location will be announced next week.
They better not move to anywhere in America. We have too many American teams. We need a South American team.
They are staying in Europe, Eastern Europe, but that's all I'll give you for now.
Watch, they move to Dusseldorf.
I actually loved Dusseldorf. Spent some time there. Well, thanks a lot, Jiggly, for carrying the conversation today, and hopefully we'll get you back for another few.
Does that get me extra
games.
TP?
Yeah.